Shalom. I come with you some information about the from Babylon Timbuktu by Rudolph R. Windsor. Again, a history of the ancient black races, including the black Hebrews, they would say, designed by L. Hagan, or how you ever say his name. This one from chapter 3 is talking about the Afro-Asian culture goes to Europe. The Sumerians and the Babylonians and the Ethiopians were black people. They contribute much to the advancement of civilization because they study astrology. They were capable of formulating many principles of astronomy. But these black people were also sagacious and skillful, that they were able to divide the years into months, weeks, hours, minutes, and seconds. In mathematics, they developed in the decimal system. The most famous of the Babylonian kings was Hammurabi Arabi, or something like that. Hammurabi. I might post him up next time. Who ruled about 2150 BC. He was outstanding for his codification of a system of laws founded on retaliation as the punitive measure for crime. He also established a 7-day week with the last day rest, or Sabbath, or Shabbat in the Hebrew. It means day of rest. That's what I was doing yesterday, the High Holy Day. This idea was adopted by the Hebrews and then transmitted to the Greeks, Romans, and other Europeans. And this is a lie. The Hebrew Israelites came up with the Sabbath. These people did. They copied from the Hebrew, so he kind of misworded in this book right here. But you know, but it's good information. You got to spit the meat out the bones with that. And this is a Sumerian or Chaldean. These are descendants of Ham. They part of the Ham stock of the dark race. Most people say black race, but the Hamites were the so-called African race, the darker races. You can find that in your Zonder van der Van Combat Bible Dictionary for that information. I'll go on to another one. Here's one that says the relief tablet, like they said, you know, with the Urshanti king Lagash, 2400 BC. You know, right around this time. What a coincidence. See? Pictures to prove it. And there's another one. And there's another one. The scribe, Curly, he's a scribe, a teacher. Yeah, I just talked about education, didn't I? There they go. Close-up cylinder seal, impression, nude, bearded hero, water buffalo, 2334 BCE. He's a cylinder person. Yep, he's a cylinder person. Continue on. He was outstanding for his codification of system laws founded on retaliation. I just read, okay. The Greeks, Romans, and other Europeans copied from the Israelites, that's right. But you got other Hebrews like Edomites and Ishmael, that's true, but still, the chosen ones were the Yashruelites. That's who we are. The literature of the Babylonians is quite interesting. Long ago, these black people wrote with sharp instrument on clay tablets. I'm going to show you in a minute. And this is some kind of deity that they was into. This is a replica life statue of Gouda, or Gudea, however you pronounce it, in the ancient Near East seminar room. More about him. And this is half of his head. You saw the first of him. The first slide you saw from him with his head. This is him without the head, kind of bust they found in that area. Okay. Sumer stamped day plaque of Harpist 2000 BCE. This is a Naram Sin close up. You know, the steel of Naram. You know, he's killing. You know, and they have their little tablets. And this is an obelisk of Mentutsu, found of Susa. It's kind of like the Egyptian obelisk, and this is a pretty good idea who are the Sumerians are. They are the cousins of the Egyptians. I don't know what type of ham stock they come from. I don't know if they're Canaanites. I don't know if they're or one of them stocks. I'm not sure. Okay. The seal of Abini Shuram described King Sarkali, Shari son of Naram and Sin 2250 BCE. And that showed you right there what they did. That's talking about science as well. You know, the tablets I'm going to get just a bit. Nippar altar figure. He's altar figure 2700 BCE. That's an altar of them. You know, they was colorful too. You know, had their idols and stuff. And that's another one of Gudea. The shorter version of Gudea. It's actually Gudea is a Chaldean. They were the Africans. Sumerian kitchen. That's their kitchen. They pots and clay. And this is the Akkadian relief prisoners of war. That's what they believe in. That's the whole thing. And that's Sargon, y'all know most. And this is a statue of an Hindu Sumerian scribe. He was a scribe, like a writer, educator. 2400 BCE, reconstructed nose. Yep. And this is a Sumerian woman, 2500 BCE. That's a long time ago. Sumerian worshiper, you know, like of the church or whatever. Had his hands together. Here's the tablets. It says a Syrian copy of the flood tablet relating part of the Epic of Gilgamesh. This is a Gilgamesh tablet. And I just read in here, it said the tablets, they said. And I'll read this again. It said, the literature of the Babylonians is quite interesting. Long ago, these black people wrote with a sharp instrument on clay tablets. Thousands of these tablets have been found, and some of them disclose a popular work known as the Enum Elish, or the creation epic. Like I said, when it says epic, the story how the world began derived from the Babylonians. They were Africans, by the way. The Babylonians were not Iraqis or no Shemites. That's a lie. They are Africans. They are Hamites. Babylonians are actually Cushites in your scriptures. They are descendants of Cush. And Nimrod was a Babylonian. Cushite. That's one of their tablets right here of the Gilgamesh. And this is another royal inscription like they wrote on here. 2400 BCE, Umma. But that's a tablet, a round tablet, and this is a Sumerian tablet with a fable. That's another one. After the dispersal of mankind at the Tower of Babel, the black Hamites migrated towards east, south, southwest, and the west. These black Hamites settled in the land of Canaan. Later on, it's called Israel. That's what they put. It was actually Yasharal. The land of Canaan gets its name from the youngest son of Ham, who was Canaan. The Canaanites were primordial aborigines of the land of Canaan. We may call them Africans because of their blood relationship to the other inhabitants of Africa continent. They were 11 Canaanite tribes living in the land of Canaan, surrounding it before the black Israelites possessed it. When he said black Israelites, he means Yashroelites. I don't use the term black. There's no such thing as white or black on that. We all are dark skinned. Those over there are fake. They're nothing but Romans converted into this fake religion called Zionism. I don't call it Judaism, I call it Zionism. It's controlled by the Pope, the Black Pope, and the Vatican. You know, the Jesuits control most of the secret societies today. So, you know, that's just, I'm gonna throw that in there. The Zionist is just a front man for the Jesuits, you know, so-called white people. The greatest culture and commercial cities of these black Canaanites were Tyre, Sidon, sometimes written Zidion with a Z. Z-I-D-O-N. That's what it says in here. But it says S-I-D-O-N. That's their proper name, Zidion or Zidion. They're not Israelites, by the way. A lot of people try to say they are, but they're not Israelites. This city gets its name from Zidion, firstborn son of Canaan. The Zidians and the Tyrians were of the same race. They were, and their kings ruled over both of these cities. In many history books, you will read about the Sidonians under the name Phoenicia. So the Phoenicians that came over here, or Zidians, were Hamites. They said the Phoenicians were Canaanites. Most of our scholars and researchers said they are Canaanites. I don't know if that's true or not, but if they are, I wouldn't be surprised. The Greeks called the Zidians Phoenicians, land of palm, because they found many palm trees there. But the Zidians called their nation by the name of Kenan, known as Canaan. In the Bible, they call it Canaan, but it's called Kenan, like K-E is K-E is K-E-N-A-A-N instead of C-A-N. I mean C-A-N-A-A-N. See, it's Canaan. That's what they call it, Canaan, but they call it the land of name Kenan. That's what it says right here. But Phoenicia, or land of the Sidonians, was located to the north of Palestine, along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, bound by the sea on the west and by the mountain ranges of Lebanon. On the cast, Tyre and Zidon were found about 223 BCE, 2300 BCE. The Tel El Amarana is the name of the tablets, showed that Tyre was place of great strength in 15th century BCE. Sidon was still older. It was the older one. For a long time, it was only the black Phoenician city known to the Greeks. Well, first of all, the Greeks, back then, they wasn't called Greeks. It was called Ionians. And later, the white man called them Greeks by mistake. And even though he called himself a Greek, that's how they have their history. Even after Tyre took the leadership, the Greeks and the Hebrews spoke of the Phoenician as Zidians, and the king Ethbaal of Tyre is called king of the Zidians. They were Hamites. The Zidians were Hamites except for the Hebrews. The Hebrews back then, or the chosen, were actually Israelites, Yashvalites. They were God's chosen. And the reason why we have all the languages before everybody else. The other nations, yeah, they had language, but they didn't have it before us. They had it from us while we was in captivity. These nations that enslaved us, they didn't have the knowledge that we had. They copied it from us. See, all the reason why they have their stuff out, because they died first. They were here first, and they did some weird customs. That's why the so-called white man's getting all this stuff and try to rectify them, that they were of a dark complected, or I would say melanated people, you know, for a better word. These black people were proficient in philosophy, astronomy, geometry, arithmetic, and navigation. They had good harbors which enabled them to navigate to the distant lands such as Cyprus, Sardinia, Crete, Rhodes, Cadiz in Spain, Sicily, Carthage in North Africa near Tunis. Well, the Canaanites did, I don't say it like this for knowledge's sake. The Moors, okay, the Moors in North Africa were Canaanites. The Carthaginians were Canaanites. I would say that that's agreeable. And some of them were Libyans too. Some of them were Phutites. In the Bible, that's known as Phut, but known as Libyans. They were the Moors of Northwest, but the northeast of not Angola, but somewhere around, was right beside Libya and Morocco. The people of Morocco, they could be Canaanites in my personal opinion, because I believe they have that knowledge. Like, well, I'm going to read this part when they said proficient in philosophy. They said astronomy, geometry, that's math, arithmetic, writing, and navigation. That means going and traveling is navigation. And astronomy is like science. But so they navigate different lands, like you said. See, in Tunis, it's Tunisia. The people that's black, they're Canaanites in Tunisia and Morocco. That's what they're saying. They were Moors. Basically, the people that call themselves Moors over there, they're Canaanites. So that makes sense. But we're not Canaanites, though. We're not Moors. We're just black people. Now the Byzantine Empire, that's questionable and whatever, and that's that. Okay. The Tangier, Afari, and the Canary Isles. These Phoenicians were skilled also in metalwork, needlework, embroidery. They extracted dye from shellfish, abounding in the adjacent waters. This dye became known later as the Tyrian purple. They made glass from the white sand of the Mediterranean coast. I just showed you all the pictures of them with the tablets and stuff. I'm just reading the rest of the way. And this is a close foundation, the figure of King Ur, the king of Ur of the Chaldeans. Ur is like, Chaldea. He's a Chaldean, by the way, and Namu. And it has the description of Akkadian, the one who built the temple of Enlil. I think I read that in here. The adjective on his head represents a basket of the earth, symbolic of his crying metal. The built temple Sumerians kept in the ancient African custom, carrying the heavy loads on their head. That's what they did back in the day. The Phoenicians spoke a Hamitic Semitic language, so closely allied to the Hebrew. So they spoke their native Hamitic tongue, African tongue, and then they did speak Hebrew because they learned it from Abraham. Now Abraham was under the Chaldeans at the time. See, he was before and gave them this knowledge. The reason why they have this knowledge, they got it from Abraham. All of them got it from Abraham, or Abraham, or Abraham, or whatever you say in Arabic or Hebrew. I like to Hebrew that Phoenician and the Hebrew, though different dialects, may practically be regarded as the same language. They say, even though that's not true, they're two different languages. As it was previously stated, there were 11 Canaanite tribes. The Zydians, the Hattian Empire. Most people call it the Hittite Empire. Okay, first of all, there's no such thing as a Hittite Empire. Please watch my video called "There is no Hittite Empire." It's called the Hattian or Hattic people. The Hattic people are Hamites that descend from Canaan. They're the Hattic or Hattian people. The Hattian Empire was just like what most people ignorantly would call the Hittite Empire. The Hittite Empire is actually the Hattian Empire, not the Hittite Empire. It doesn't exist. Well, please watch that video. The Hattian, they would say, he puts Hittites in here, but I call them the Hattian. That's what they are. The Jebusites, the Amorites, the Gergesites, the Hivites, the Arkites, the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zamorites, and the Hamathites. And that's it, and that's 11 tribes of them. Hebrew has its origin in the Canaanite language, they say. That's because of Abraham. When Abraham came from the region of Babylon into the land of Canaan, he found the Canaanite language similar to his own language. The reason why they spoke, okay, okay, I say it like this for argument's sake. The reason why they spoke Hebrew, because the whole world was speaking Hebrew as a national language. So I have to correct myself what I just said earlier. Yeah, Abraham did taught some of them over the land of Babylon, or Babylonians. And then he taught the rest of them his version, and they even taught him, like, you know, the Hamitic language, whatever. But Abraham, or Abraham, known as Abraham, found this out, that they kept the old language. Now, some of them did came off with the new Hamitic language like the others, and everybody had their own tongues, like it shows you about the Tower of Babel. So I'm on page 28 in this book right here. The Canaanite language, similitudes only. Abraham communicated very well with the inhabitants of the new land, adopted the Canaanite language. That's true. That's true. Made certain modification, it become known as Hebrew. The Hebrew language was very similar to the Canaanite, says the Bible dictionary. The Phoenician or Canaanite can be classified as an African language because of the Canaanites were blood brothers of the Egyptians. Reason why they were blood brothers, okay, the Egyptians is known as Mizraim or Mizraim. That is, I think he's the son of, I don't know if he's the, yeah, Mizraim's the son of Ham. Cush is the son of what you would say so-called Ethiopians, but they're actually the Abyssinians. The Abyssinians are Cushites. I don't call them Ethiopians. The Abyssinians are Africans. They are Cushites, by the way. The Egyptians, they say Ethiopians, you know, that's what they call them. They means burnt face, but actually they are Cushites, by the way. Nubians, Sudanese, and other Africans. The Phoenician established a colony in North Africa called Carthage, and they, the Carthaginians, always considered themselves Canaanites. The reason why the Carthaginians was conquered by the Romans, which I would say they're Esau, but you know that's wrong. You know, I've explained that in another, that's a whole nother topic. But conquer them during the Punic War. So it shows you right there who are the Carthaginians. These people right here I just showed you. Let's see. Always consider themselves Canaanites. When Moses led the, you know, Yashroelites, he said black Israelites in this book, out of Egypt, northeast, you know, northeast Africa, northeast Akibalan, most people say. Moses died in the wilderness. Then Yahushua, by the way, and Moshe, that what we call them, led the Yashroelites, known as Israelites, that says in this book, into the land of Canaan, disposed the Canaanites. Now it was written in a Jewish book called the Babylonian Talmud. For when the Africans came to plead against the Jews before Alexander or Macedonian, Alexander of Macedonia was an Edomite, by the way. He was an Agagite. They said Canaan belongs to us, as it was written, the land of Canaan with the coast thereof, and Canaan was the ancestor of these people ourselves. These Canaanites or Africans were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua, known as Yahushua in the Hebrew, but this guy put Joshua. About 332 BCE, Alexander conquered Palestine. Now Palestine is a Roman word, Palestinia. The Romans named that land Palestine. It wasn't even called Palestine. It was actually called Canaan. As stated above, the Africans came to, is actually called Canaan in modern terms, but in ancient terms it was called Canaan. It means the unknown. I just mentioned in this chapter. As stated above, the Africans came to Alexander claiming that the land of Canaan belonged to them. The point that I want to elucidate is that these Canaanites considered themselves Africans. Consequently, we can correctly say that the Hebrew Canaanite language is one of the African languages. Many of the private houses of these black people were equipped with crissons from storing water, like I showed you about the pots in the clatery. Go back here. This is right here. Oh, go back. Right here. The Sumerian kitchen I just mentioned. There's this pot plate in the water. You know, they store this, all that stuff they house in right there back in the day. Let's see. Let me pick up. The wealth of Phoenicia or Carthage was predicted on clandestine technical producers and manufacturers, secret mines of advantages and expensive metals, and concealed secret trading posts in the remote areas from Ethiopia to the Pillars of Hercules. Their knowledge of navigation enabled them to reach the British Isles and the Arctic Ocean. The English alphabet derived from the two ancient black nations, the Phoenician Canaanite alphabet and the Hebrew. The Phoenicians had a powerful navy. They were a great trading people. When the Phoenicians traded with the Greeks did not have an alphabet. As a result, they adopted the Phoenician alphabet in order to transact business. You see, the Greeks didn't have, there's no Greek language. So-called Greeks that most people call, there's Greeks are black over there. Those are Ionians. They was conquered by white people, and what happened? The Arabs. Well, actually, take this back. The Ishmaelites, the Arabs, conquered them, and they almost wiped them out, just like the white man did, so-called white man did. What they did is destroy the language, and they spoke Arabic. And the Arabic knew the language of the Greeks, they would say. This is similar to what situation what they had to, a result of this. And then the Canaanites, the Carthaginians, of course, you know, did the same thing. It was a lot of, you know, warfare going on. And then the language and the linguistics, come on. And they just showed you right, I just read, you know, they didn't have an alphabet, they were saying right in here. And the Greeks passed this alphabet to the Romans, and the Romans transmitted it to the German Anglo-Saxon tribes. The original Anglo-Saxon tribe, they were from the Byzantine Empire. That's what he's mentioned. They were black people, of course. Then it was brought to the British Isles. The first two letters of the Phoenician and Hebrew alphabet are Aleph and Bet, which is similar to the word alphabet. The black Phoenicians also gave a system of weights and measure to the Europeans. The city of Carthage was called the Queen of the Sea. The Carthaginians controlled the commerce and the Mediterranean Sea. A new nation emerged in the peninsula of Italy. Rome, which challenged, see, Rome did challenge them. This is talking about the Punic War right here. This is talking about the Punic War, which challenged the commercial interests and supremacy of Carthage in the Mediterranean. They challenged the Canaanites, by the way. This state of the hostility led to the 3 long wars called the Punic Wars, like I just said, called the Punic Wars. I'm going to put that up, explain why they called it Africa. The Romans named that continent, called it Africa. It was called Africa for a reason. They try to say Africa was already there. That's a lie. It was called Akubalan. The term African is a European term. The other scholars that mention this, Azil Bey mentions this, other scholars mention this, and more. You know, but the Punic Wars is one of them. That's one reason why it was called Africa. The first Punic War was in the years of 264 and 241 BCE, mostly naval battles, which Italy won. The second Punic War was fought in the years of 218, 201 BCE. A black general by the name of Hannibal Aramura Carvi, that was his name, was an extraordinary figure who did what was considered the impossible by crossing the Alps with elephants. That's a true story, true history. In Italy, was victorious over the Romans. In Italy, he was victorious over the Romans, but he was very resourceful and crafty. When he got into a difficult situation, he lost, by the way. At one time, he drove herds and cattle into the Romans. His unexpected victories amazed and terrified the city of Rome. But at the end, because of the lack of men and supplies, he had to return to what would say Africa at the time, but they didn't call it Africa. It was actually called Akubalan or Carthage. It was called Carthage at the time. It was called Carthage. But they say Africa in modern terms. See, that's a European term. That's Rome. It means cold without fear. The Third Punic War was in the years of 149 and 146 BCE and fought at Zamia in they would call Africa. Because of Hannibal's skill in warfare, his strategy is taught in the military colleges around the world. And the reason why? Because he was conquered and killed during that time. So, you know, they said Egyptians are Africans known as Mizraim. So I'm going to skip that. Afro-Asiatic culture goes to Europe. I'm going to stop there. The Egyptians, I'm going to stop there because I already know, and most of y'all know about the Egyptians. So, you know, we can't go in depth with it. I'm going to make a part 2. So with that, I want to say peace.